Welcome back, everybody, to the Innate Domain podcast. We have another guest on the show, Nelson Lugo. Welcome to the show.
How's it going, guys? How's it going?
Starting off, would you mind just explaining who you are and what exactly you do?
Okay. Like Nick said, I'm Nelson Lugo. I am 30 years old. I'm currently an police officer in the suburban area in Illinois. Won't specify where I'm at exactly, but been there for about almost 5 years now. That's pretty much it. Let's get started.
How exactly did you land that position? Like, go through how exactly you got there.
Okay. To be honest, like, not even just kidding. This was actually like a childhood dream job. Um, it was kind of something I decided to go through after, kind of just progressing through college, my degree. Believe it or not, I don't know if I've ever told you specifically, but I actually went to the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, and I actually got a sports management
Okay.
degree.
Okay.
Initially when I went, I kind of just went like up and down, like in fields. It was just a whole society mindset, like I want to get a really good job, I want to make really good money, I want to do this, I want to do that. So like I went to U of I for, in the mindset from the jump as a freshman, engineering, and then I learned it, and like I did CAD and stuff, but it was just like it was not what I wanted. Learning the classes and stuff. I then transitioned to, what was it, nutrition. Um, and then it kind of fell back with that whole today thing mindset, like, oh, nutritionists don't make a lot of money, at least from what I'm learning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Let me find something good. And then at the end of the day, junior year, I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna stay in my field. I was a student athlete. I love fitness. I'm gonna get a sports management degree, kind of incorporate with that stuff. And then I worked a couple jobs outside of college, jobs, not careers. It's like, you know what, let me just, what's the worst that can happen? It's something I've wanted to do since I was 6. I'll do it. I'll put in for it. And then sure enough, I got picked up like the same year. And here I am. That's all what I do.
What sparked that want to become an officer?
A couple things I would say. I think the first one was just, I had like this whole plan A mindset, no plan B, and plan A didn't fall through. Um, it kind of like, that was like the piece that kind of just toppled everything. Because in my mind, I was like, well, it'd be cool to be, a cop. It'd be cool to do this. It'd be cool to do that. But then, like, when you're, or at least for me specifically, when it was time to get things rolling with my life, and get a career, like the milestone stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm gonna need something, more financially stable, but something I want to do, and enjoy. And it just like that. One day I woke up, I was like, like, what's the worst gonna happen? I take an interview, I take an exam, they say no, I'll just go to another department and just kind of work my way. But why not try to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And then the town that did pick me up ended up being, it felt right. Like I like, what I mean by that is like I haven't lateraled, I haven't changed to another town or a different city.
Mm-hmm.
I don't plan, or like years down the road, I don't plan on leaving this town. Like everything that we do there, specifically the people I incorporate with, my coworkers, my staff, the town itself, like the citizens, I love it. I love it. A lot of people don't, or dread going to work. I mean, unless I have something going on that day that I don't want to miss, like a party or birthday or something, like
Mm-hmm.
I do look forward to going to work. I do love
Hell
going
yeah.
to work. It's just something I enjoy, man.
That's the goal. I feel like that's what I want to get to at one point. I'm not there yet, but I definitely want to feel that passion to get up and move forward with my workday, with my job. Um,
Yeah.
so walk me through what you had to do, because you said you were just kind of on a whim. You're like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? They fail me or whatever it may be. What did you do to prepare to become a police officer? What did you have to do?
Um, well, I'm sure there's other fields that are kind of like this. Like there's always a process to things. But in this one, I kind of learned as I went. Like
Mm-hmm.
you look in a department or an agency, they'll give you like a list of requirements you have to take in order to start the process,
Okay.
and it's
Yeah.
it's crazy. Like, and because every department's so different, So like for example, like there will be like town where like you got to take uh like a written exam, and
Hmm.
then there's another town where like you have to take a written exam, but this exam's different and it's by a different like testing company of that. Um, and then like you get placed on your score, and then they'll either accept you, don't accept you, and then from there like the hiring process is different. So like this town will tell you, okay, you're gonna have an interview right off the bat with like maybe, administration of that department, or, the board from like the village. You would, and then you do a lie detector, and then you do like a physical assessment. Whereas like this one, they're gonna be like, no, you're not having your interview yet. We're gonna put you on a lie detector now, and then we're gonna do you through like a medical physical assessment. Um, and if all these boxes check out, then we'll do an interview, and then we'll decide if we want you or not. And
Hmm.
um, one thing I learned too when I started all this was that there's something called a power card. It's basically a physical test. You need this card specifically before you can even take a written exam at a lot of these departments.
Okay.
Um, what it is basically is like where we're at here in Illinois. You got to do like and excuse me, everything's by age group. So like your test results are kind of different, but like at the age group I was in, you had to hit like a certain physical like sit and reach. I think it was 37 standard sit-ups under a minute. Um, bench press on a bench press machine, not free weight. 90% of your body weight. Um,
Wow.
and then it was a mile and a half, 13 minutes, 30 seconds or less, which,
Okay.
athletes like me and you, like, I know you're a fitness junkie, like, that's probably a walk in the park.
Hmm.
Literally a walk. I can walk about that,
Yeah.
and maybe jog the rest, not break a sweat. Um, so they keep it like they keep you with all these requirements, but you need like one to proceed to the other, and then you make your way to like your higher, and then um, that's just like I said, the hiring process of it all. My town specifically, and again, every town's so different. Um, when they do hire you, you do get sworn in, and there's like a ceremonial thing, and
Hmm.
you make your pledge to your, that you sworn duty. Um, but like within that week after you're already sworn in, you're getting shipped to like an academy, and you still have
Okay.
to graduate the academy. You don't graduate the academy, that department then lets you go. You
Hmm.
see what I'm saying? So it's just like it's like a mini step process, but like you can't progress, and you could get let go that same moment. Like when I went and did my sworn in, I think it was like literally within the week or two, I got sent to, believe it or not, back to U of I for their academy. That was stationed out there. I would be there Monday through Friday, come home on the weekends, and I was there. Believe it or not, guys, it was actually up until March, because I got sworn in January 2020,
Okay.
COVID. I spent like my last month almost, maybe, like, or not even a month, because we compressed it all on Zoom. I'd knocked out all my required hours on Zoom. Um,
Okay.
I had to take numerous trips to finish other hours on the shooting range, combat tactics, stuff like
Hmm.
that. But yeah, like just going back to what you're saying though. So like once you get out the academy, you go back to your department, and you're still like not like set. You're still not set. You now have to go through a field training program. Um, and in my agency, the field training program, it's maybe 3 months or so, give or take your progress. And then you're like officially cut loose solo. Like you don't have a field training officer anymore. You have your own squad car, your own patrol area, your shift, all this stuff. But your probation period's now starting. And some, like, I don't know if I ever explained to you, is that like that probation period is like
Hmm.
it's like your hire date. Like when you go to like when you get picked up at like I don't know, like a McDonald's,
Hmm.
and they hire you, they have like that 90-day hire date period where they can like pretty much do whatever you want with you.
Yeah.
That's what that probation period is as an officer. And for my
Okay.
town, it doesn't start till after your training at the PD, and it's 1 year, not 90 days. So like
Okay.
anything can go. You mess up, you know what I mean? Like they can cut you loose, they can do all this stuff. Um, And then like once you get out of that year, you're like set. Like this is you're like it's like official. Like you get even a congratulated. You get new badges with your badge number, and now you're set. That's the whole process of it all. So
Okay.
insane journey, insane journey.
So do you think the difference between like the types of training or where you get sent for academy, depending on the town that you're in, does that reflect on the kind of officers that go to each PD?
Yeah, I'm kind of glad you asked that because I wanted to talk about it too. So like the thing is like um just to give you an idea, when I got hired, there was about 6 or 7 of us for that agency. They needed that many new guys at once. We got sent to that academy at U of I. When you get to the academy at U of I, it's all like this class, like maybe class of 60 people, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
All these guys and girls are from different agencies, whether it's like a town, like our city department, county, like Cook County, DuPage County, stuff like that. Corrections, believe it or not.
Okay.
And they train you in like I would like to think or say, and I'm not trying to like just it's just not it's nothing negative. It's just like for someone to understand who's not in this field, it's like standardized police learning. You learn laws, you learn combat, like standard combat tactics, like defense tactics, the shooting range, safety procedures, um, scenario training, and then like you get all that, then you go back to your agency, and like it's almost as if like you're learning all over again, but with that department you work for and how
Mm-hmm.
they do things, their
Okay.
policies, their procedures. So it kind of like as a new hire, it'll throw you off a little bit because you spend all this time in the academy trying to learn and do things that an officer would do, only to go back to your agency and now you're trying to learn as what that agency officer would do,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just yeah, it's just kind of like for me, it threw me a curve a little bit. I tried learning as much as I could, doing what I could, do the best I could, and then I mean, when I came back, not that it was like all tossed out the window. It's just like, yeah, I know this. I know the academy taught you that, but with our policy, you have to do it this way. You know
Okay.
what I mean? And that goes for every agency. Like all like that class of 60, we all went back to our agencies, and now every like they're learning their policy way, their procedure way. It's all within the same law of the state. Don't get me wrong. It's just the way they have to go about it is a little different. So like
Why
I
is
may
that?
have to make a certain thing. It's just it just like a lot of agencies try to do like they have policies and procedures they gotta do, right? There's a process to handle things in it, and you don't have to, not that you don't have to follow the state, because obviously it's the law. It's just I don't know if it's the administration and the people who work in administration that choose to do that. I mean, otherwise we'd all be one united department of the
Mm-hmm.
entire state. And you know what I mean? And now that I say that out loud and thinking about it, that's probably what, Illinois, state police or county police do. But
Mm-hmm.
for someone who would work like in like Carbondale and versus someone who would work all the way up in like I'm guessing Rockford, I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you some of their policies on handling calls,
Mm-hmm.
interaction, the nature of the call, the hot calls as they say, um, interaction with community, they probably have to handle it different, and it's just the way that that department had built it.
Do you think that's
You know,
probably surrounded around like population and just demographic, and it changes
yes,
based on that? Okay.
I think it's something they do incorporate. It may not be, it's just, but like, every town is different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's towns that are, or like even like you said, demographics, for example, rural versus urban or the cities. Um, there's just different, or industrial buildings, like more like a town that would have more industrial commercialized stuff than actual residential. Or someone who has a high populated residential town, or a mixture of the two. There's probably things like I would assume like landmarks like shopping malls,
Mm-hmm.
stadiums. There's things that do that in that town would probably make it different versus another town.
Okay.
I do
Yeah,
believe
because
that.
if one
Yeah.
town doesn't have like a stadium or as many schools, you're probably going to have different things that you would have to be able to look out for compared to some town that has a lot of those things, because you guys are going to
Yes.
have to go into a certain situation. You don't know when, but you're going to have to at some point deal with something. So that would mean like if you were to transfer to a different town that has something that your previous town didn't, you would have to go over completely new training.
Yes. And what's funny is you bring up training. It's a lot of agencies do what they can for training. We can get into that too, but the thing is like if I work for one town and they taught me this, they taught me that in their policy, their procedures, and now say I lateral over to another town for whatever the reason is, they're going to teach me like some stuff that they do within their policy and their procedures. They'll know that even I'm experienced from here, so there's things like officer safety, awareness, how to make a traffic stop, how to initially handle calls, whether it's like something domestic related, a juvenile nuisance, or something as struck like hot, like man with a gun, a man with a knife type calls. But then they're still going to teach you how they do it, how they handle it, how you arrive to the scene, how you handle take over the scene, who engages what, who handles a crime scene, things like that. Like it's things like that where like a lot of towns, that's where things get different, between the towns and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, we'd be here all day if I was trying to give you a scenario on it. Don't get me wrong, but I've seen department assistants like the town I work for will get notified that the town next door needs help with something. You get there and you see how like they're handling their scene on their call, and in your mind you're like, we don't even do that. We do this, So, yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, I even from like a basic sense, like working at a coffee shop, you can go to another store and it's the same thing. They'll do something one way and you'll be like, that's so inefficient, or that just doesn't
Yeah.
make any
Yes.
sense
Yes.
whatsoever. Like, why do you do it this way? And that I think that really does kind of reflect what you were talking about earlier, just like the training that they go through or the standards that they have to follow based on
Hmm.
the department that they're going into. Coming out of the
Yeah.
academy, do you think was your mindset that you were prepared to be on the job, and then once you got there you're like, oh shit, like I was so wrong?
It, I mean, me personally, maybe it's my competitive nature. Some people like thought I was just cocky. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. They thought I came in arrogant, cocky. I knew all this. I can handle all that. For me, it was just like I'm a competitive person. I grew up on hella different sports. I was a three-sport athlete in high school. I went and played college ball. Um, Getting out, I was still like a fitness. Like I was playing 7-on-7 football. Like I just loved it all. Like I'm competitive. So it's like when I went to the academy and I saw all these other guys, it's like I was trying to be top of class. I want to be honest between like not even between us because everyone's gonna listen to this and they're gonna laugh at me. But I was actually a squad leader in the
Okay.
academy. Um, Try to be like number one in all the morning PT. Try to do my best on these classes, even though I suck at test taking, believe it or not. And like again, everyone thought I was just this arrogant, cocky dude. I'm just trying to like compete. I'm trying to win, mindset. It didn't work in my favor. Some people, like I said, some people thought I was arrogant. They hated that, so like they just naturally didn't like me. And I'm like, that's not. I'm sorry, that's not. I'm not trying to be an ass. I actually got removed as a squad leader during the academy. Um, I guess I had like a bunch of like people in my squad who just couldn't get it together outside of the class and stuff. Didn't work out, and I couldn't keep my squad in check as they literally said to me, and I ended up getting removed as a squad leader, believe it or not. And then I came back to my department, and everyone talks because I'm gonna tell you guys right now, departments, police agencies, we're all people, so it's like high school. Everyone interacts. There's some people who get along with certain people, some people who rather not get along and talk to other people. I'm not trying to bash or be negative to anybody. So I'm, again, whoever's hearing this, I'm sorry. But those who do know, they know, like, it's high school. It's like cliquish in some ways, in some fields. Like everyone who likes patrol, everyone who's in traffic, like it is what it is. It is what it
Hmm.
is. You know. But yeah, like everyone just thought I was just a cocky guy, and I just didn't. I thought I had it all figured out. At the end of the day, I really didn't. I
Hmm.
was nervous. I was nervous, interacting, whether it was with my coworkers, I was nervous interacting with, the public. Um, it kind of made me drift to asking questions that I needed to ask on certain calls, like investigative questions. I would be too focused on one thing that something else may have been happening around me. But as time progressed, I did get better at it.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think I'm a great officer, but I have that mindset where I'm trying to be a great officer,
Hmm.
So like I try. With that being said, I still handle calls and stuff as best as I can. The little things, little details, my surroundings, my awareness, where my partner's at, where the people are at, make sure no one's like coming at me while I'm doing this. Engaging on traffic stops, you don't want to say anything either that just comes off to someone that might be disrespectful or anything like that. So like you're always like trying to be proper, you're always trying to do good, um, and not try to be cocky.
Hmm.
I would like to think that maybe I'm a little confident, but I definitely don't think I'm cocky. I'm not an arrogant person. I try not to be, at least,
Hmm.
but I try to learn, I try to be knowledgeable, I try to do right, I try to be respectful, and I mean, I'm trying to hold it all together and enjoy what I do at the same time, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. I'm sure
What do
that's
you?
something you can relate, especially. So I
Yeah,
know you talk
definitely.
to a lot of people, you don't want to come off like a know-it-all or someone who has an
Yeah.
attitude, someone
Hmm.
who's, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I'm sure you can relate to that, man.
Yeah, no, definitely because I actually heard something. I think it was this morning. I was listening to another podcast, and it was about censoring your the way you think, so then it censors the way you speak. So like if you're surrounding yourself with people that you're afraid of censoring, like your thoughts or the way that you talk, it's going to change the way that you think. Um,
Hmm.
so it's like trying to think about, okay, if I have this person on, I feel like I need to talk in a certain way to impress them, but then that censors the way that I think. That makes me a completely different person. So I
Right,
try and
right.
speak differently to make them think higher of me rather than just
Yeah,
being myself. And that's definitely like correlating to what you said, how that relates to
yeah,
me. That's exactly
yeah.
how it how I feel about it.
I mean, to be honest too, it's like we wear body cams.
Hmm.
People record us. You're always being watched, so it's just like do what you would, while being respectful, obviously, and listening to people, hearing them out. Like there's a difference between the two, but like you gotta do it all and do everything hands on that you need to do hands on, and check your boxes on these calls and whatnot. But like at the same time, with all the communication, whether you're just having a conversation with someone or you're asking questions about what while you're on scene for something, like you got to understand, like a lot of people don't understand, is like we're trying to do our job, but like I hear you. I know you're upset. You're crying while you're giving me your statement. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I'm not gonna drift off and try to like um talk to someone I wouldn't talk to while they're crying. Like I'm gonna talk to you like I like with a level of empathy, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. For example, but at the same time, I'm still gonna ask you all these questions. And so there's times where it's like it may get stressful. People are drifting from their statements. They're not answering your questions. You got to have a level of patience, but a level of respect. So like you can't, you may get irritated deep down, like without, you're not going to be like, dude, just shut up and just tell me this.
Hmm.
Like I wouldn't want someone to talk to me like that.
Yeah.
It's just like things you got to get done, but you got to have somewhat patience. You got to be smart, and you don't want to say anything that can be used against you. Like, well, this officer was talking to me like this, and then like now you're the officer getting yelled at by your boss. Like, why would you yell at them like that? Why would you say this to them like that? Like,
Hmm.
why were you, cussing? You know,
Hmm.
it's crazy.
Is it easier to tell like if someone's going to explode like that? Like, is there not even, let's just say like certain departments, like you can tell based on the training that they had or what academy they went to or what department they're going for? Can you, and obviously
Hmm.
not easily tell if someone's more not capable, but more likely to kind of explode, or is it just kind of like a flip of the coin?
That's a honestly, I think it's gonna come down to you mean like if they're engaging, is this officer gonna snap? Is that what you
Yes.
mean? Like,
Yeah. Hmm.
so you could tell people's language, like body language, I mean, and their expressions, how this conversation might go.
Hmm.
Um, I think that as long as you can read that, you can avoid that possibility of exploding.
Hmm.
I again am not trying to like I don't know how anyone's gonna react to this, but what I mean by that is like I arrive on scene and the person I need to talk to has got like this face expression like they don't want to talk to a cop, they
Hmm.
don't want to be out here, and I mean that day, hey, maybe I don't even want to be out here, maybe I was trying to do something else, but now I got dispatched and I'm here.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm gonna have the patience to get through this with you, whether you like me, don't like me, whether you don't want to be out here, whether you're okay being out here. Like, as long as the person is staying focused, not trying to come off aggressive with an attitude that would provoke the other person from exploding,
Hmm.
it it'll never happen. You know, it's kind of like a get what you give, like mentality.
Hmm.
I'm if I'm an officer, and I don't do this, but if I'm an officer, I get on scene for like whatever the call is, and I'm like, all right, why'd you call us? They're gonna see me
Yeah.
react like that, and they're gonna
Uh-huh.
react. They're gonna give me that same back, and then next thing you know, we're having an argument about our attitude against each other
Hmm.
when we're not even handling this call. Like I'm trying to get your statement and figure out what happened here. And then next thing you know, like you got your partner like, dude, just back up. I'll go talk to him, or like maybe your boss gets a call now because they're trying to beef you because like this officer that was out here had an attitude, like, and at the end of the day, no one wants that.
Hmm.
Like no one wants that, whether it's like the person who called 911 or the officer who got there. Like, I'm gonna tell you right now, I would do my best to make sure no one like is calling people, like calling my bosses, calling another
Hmm.
officer out here, because I got on scene and I gave them an attitude. um I think there's a burnt out method in this field too. you know um People who have been on the job for years, and they're tired, they're ready to retire, but
Hmm.
whatever reason they're not, they might naturally come off aggressive. I think there's certain towns and their demographics and whatever they have in their town can be a burnt part of the burnt out method.
Hmm.
um I think, like, for example, I think that if, like, say I work in this town here, but then the town over here that's like got a different group of people that live in their town. They, whatever their town stats are, they might have more type of hot calls, and like where mine's
Hmm.
more chill, they might be burnt out because they have to do handle call. The frequency of their calls is different from the frequency of my calls.
Hmm.
The frequency of their interaction with their public versus mine is different, so they might burn them out quicker too. I think maybe employment rate itself. And what I mean by that is like how, like, say there's like 50 officers hired here, but there's like only 20 here and they're technically short staffed. Now they're working all these extra hours. They're getting held over on their work days.
Hmm.
They're getting denied whatever time off, and they're working more. Now they're burning out more. They're getting tired more. They're getting more angry more. They're getting more annoyed more, you
Hmm.
know? But going back to it, it's an internal thing. You gotta be able to have patience, that
Hmm.
way there is no explosion of, button heads with your alleged victim or your complainant. It kind of, it sucks with today in law enforcement because we all are short staffed, but, and I know I'm repeating myself here, it's kind of an internal thing. You gotta have that level of patience not to explode,
Hmm.
believe it or not.
So do you think the employment rates depending on the department kind of reflects on how that population is. Like the better departments or the better populations, like in the area, the demographic that don't have as many hot calls are going to have more officers than the ones that are like have hot calls more frequently, or is it it,
Mm,
it
Um,
doesn't really correlate?
I don't think it really correlates. I mean, there's people who are willing to go anywhere. There's people who want to go to a specific area,
Hmm.
whether it's to the big cities, the small towns, the countryside type rural areas.
Yeah, so it's like
Um,
if they're applying to that
yeah,
specific PD, it's because they want to
yeah,
apply to that PD. It's not because,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I'm trying to get out
Like,
of this specific situation, so I'm going to go apply to this better county PD or whatever it may be.
yeah, yeah. So like I like my area. I'm in the suburban area. I do know people who like to get into what they call action, They like that stuff. So like they'll go towards, the city. They'll go towards like
Hmm.
Chicago area, the
Okay.
Chicagoland area, the Chicago PD itself, maybe.
Hmm.
They like the type of nature, that type of calls, the crime rate, things like that.
Hmm.
Then I know some people who like it more smaller, more low key, a smaller department where it's not as crazy or chaotic or busy, whether it's the crime rate or, just interaction with the public. It's like neither. They like it chill. They'll go out this way. They'll go out that way. You know what I mean?
Okay. Hmm.
Um, so it's kind of selective. There are some factors though. Now that I think about it, like for example, my agency, you do need a bachelor's degree.
Hmm.
There's some agencies that don't require that, but for those who do, and for those trying to get picked up that don't have a bachelor's, it kind of sucks. It leaves them with
Hmm.
limited options. But I mean, you could always go back to school. Don't get me wrong. You can always try
Hmm.
to work to get that degree. But like yeah, at like initial like trying to be a cop and you want to get hired, and if you don't have a bachelor's, some agencies won't even take your application. So like that is a
Okay.
factor. What I mean by that is like maybe they do want to go out that area, they just can't because they don't have credentials. So now it puts them in different areas.
Why
So
why
I
is
kind of
that that
just,
they why is that some require a degree and then some don't?
um, off the top of my head, I really don't have an answer. I think it's
Okay.
just the department's decisions. Every agency is different. Um, it's just how they handle things. I
Hmm.
can't really get into detail of that just
Okay.
because I think that's more of an administrative thing, not me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would say going back to the how you're talking about like the officers that have been there for a long time and like burnout. How do you manage like stress and the emotional toll that comes with being a police officer? Because that has to be, like you said, if they have a lot of hot calls, the amount of stress and emotional toll that they have is going to be much higher than someone that's in a low key or at least chiller PD. So how do you handle the stress and emotional toll that you have within the job?
Um, well, let me ask you, like, when you work out, like, is that like your stress reliever? Because like that's like me personally, like me specifically, I love the gym, I love training, but like I do use that as like a stress reliever.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's yeah. Like
I
I'm not training that. I'm not like training to like compete anymore. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Hmm.
So, but like yeah, like I don't know, like for example, like I'll go to the gym and like I'll bang weight, I'll deadlift, I'll throw it all
Hmm.
all out there in the gym and like I'm good now. I'm
Hmm.
chilling. You know,
Hmm.
that's a stress reliever for me. But I don't know about you,
Okay.
man. This is how I
Okay.
handle it. Don't get me wrong. There are other things I like to do. I love traveling. I love traveling. Like, dude, I'm trying to like knock everything out around the world, but I can't just pack up and go, obviously. But when I do
Hmm.
travel, I enjoy the ride. I enjoy the ride. I don't think about work. I don't check emails. It is definitely a stress reliever for me. That the gym. I'm a gamer. I love video games. I am very family oriented, whether it's
Hmm.
my side, my girlfriend's side. Um, I try to find things still, believe it or not, to like whether it's something new or something to try as a way to decompress.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, man, I don't like I said, I don't know about you. It's just the gym for me. Like that's primary. That's my primary stress reliever.
Hmm. Do you think
Yeah.
that, or what role do you think mental health plays in the police force? Because it seems like police officers are generally considered a higher risk group for like mental illness. Do you think there's like
hmm
an adequate amount of resources available for those that are struggling with the mental like stress that they go through?
I think I'm not sure to be honest, but I think there might be certain agencies where they do have financial funds to help their
Okay.
officers really with their mental stress. I think there might be some that don't have the funds. But if anyone, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're willing to get help, you can get it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of departments or not like not a lot of departments, excuse me. I know there are like any other part of life. If you needed help, you need to see a therapist, someone to talk to, to vent. For example, if you saw something on a call that just kind of like bothered you, if you saw someone, get shot and they're like bleeding, like that's like stuck and embedded in your mind, and
Mm-hmm.
it's got you feeling some type of way. Maybe you need to talk, just air it out. Like, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like there's things like that. Um, there's therapy for it. I think like anyone else, people are just too scared to come out and admit that there's something going on.
Mm-hmm.
For those who think like that, I mean, it's okay, like if you need help, you can get help. People will be there to help you, no matter what it is. Um, I think there are certain calls or how calls come out. Like some people, like I might handle a call and like you might come, like say you were a cop, you might have handled like it was too uncomfortable for you, but it was okay for me. Like everyone's different, so it's just like
Mm-hmm.
the mental toll it'll put on you. Yeah, it could probably build on some people, but if you need help for it, there's always help that's out there. You just got to reach out. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that some people rather not for whatever reason. It's just they want to keep it in, but like that stuff bottles and it'll stick to you.
Yeah, definitely.
I hope that kind of answered your question.
No,
I'm
yeah,
trying to
definitely.
think, but
No,
yeah.
definitely. That definitely answers the question. I think kind of circling back around to how you're very family oriented and your girlfriend, and you try to do the things that you want to do, like your hobbies and your personal stuff. There's a quote that in relation to like habits and stuff it's by James Clear. It's you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your system. So a system is
hmm
like a routine or a habit that you do to make sure that you're able to do the things that you want to do. So
hmm
what systems do you implement to balance other aspects outside of work, like personal life and hobbies?
Well, first of all, I kind of grew up. One thing that my dad did tell me growing up is don't bring your work home with you. Now, don't get me wrong, like I love my job. I love
Mm-hmm.
my job. I love everything about it. I love going to work. I love doing things. Uniform, training, hands-on training, things like that. Handling calls. I may be off work and I might be telling a story about what happened at work. I but like I try not to like say if I had a call that like bothered me or I had a bad call, I'm not gonna bring that home. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
try not to at least, and I'm not gonna try to like put it out on somebody. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna yell at my girlfriend. I'm not gonna yell at my family just because I had a bad day at work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I try my best not to think about work too as much as I am incorporated with it. Um, I tried, and that kind of just goes back to the stress reliever stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I I'm a fitness person, but like I do use the gym a lot now to stress relieve too with my job. I work out maybe 5, 6 times a week. I work maybe on a regular shift or regular schedule, excuse me. I probably work maybe like 3, 2, 4, 5 days every in a span of like maybe 2 weeks because I have a certain pattern. I have like every other weekend off and whatnot, but like
Okay.
um I have less days off throughout the year with that. But I try not to carry it. I try not to carry work with me, especially the bad stuff. I try not to carry it. I don't want that to intertwine with my personal life. That way
Mm-hmm.
my personal life is affected by it. Um, so when I come home, I try to leave it at the door. Number one. Um, number two is the stress relievers. Number three, it's just I do value family a lot. Um, I have a big family on my side. My girlfriend, she has a huge family, as
Mm-hmm.
is. Um, I don't want to. I try not to miss out on things. You know, I have missed out on a lot of things in life, for siblings, you know, awards and stuff. Um, I try to enjoy that. So like, why would you let work interfere and take that
Hmm.
away? You know,
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if it's kind of weird. I've never thought of or said it out loud, this stuff like that.
Hmm.
But that's probably how I think about it now that you're asking.
No, yeah, I think those are.
I'd
I
probably
mean,
say
those
I
are.
think those are my bigs. Those are probably my bigs.
I
Yeah,
mean, those are
yeah,
three big ones that I think could really
yeah,
help anyone
yeah,
focus a lot more on what's in front of you rather than what's going on at work or bringing things
yeah.
other places. And then going back to the training, how do you maintain your obviously like you're in good shape. How do you maintain the
Hmm.
ability to like do you have to take like a certain test every so often so you have to okay make sure I got to train this thing
Hmm.
every so often this week so
Hmm.
I have to perform like a certification or something every so often that you're
Um,
capable to be considered a cop still.
so like as far as like to be considered a cop, no, but going back to my agency, we do have a lot of things to keep us up to date, whether it's in as far as like the laws, whether it's as far as like safety. For example, like I take like a monthly lesson plan thing. My
Hmm.
department does. We all have to take it, like all of us, even the bosses, like sergeants and whatnot. They have to do like a monthly. It'll be like you'll get a topic. Like let's just say that this is like on searches and seizure. You'll take this whole lesson plan, make sure that everything's up to date with like today's laws in Illinois 2024. And then you'll take like a quiz at the end of it. It's like a little sign-on program too and everything. So you can do it in your squad car, you can do it at the department. You know, we have if they update a policy, we get notified. We have to read and sign off that we now know and acknowledge it. Um, there is annual shootings on the range to make sure you still know how
Okay.
to shoot and fire a gun. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
We have what is it? Like kind of drifted for a second. Excuse me. Trying to think of all this stuff. We have
Hmm.
in-service training. You know, we have in-service training, and we'll do like segments, like a tracer training course. You know how to use the taser
Okay.
still. Um, you know, stuff in the squad cars, squad checks, things like that. So like this is like for my agency. I don't
Hmm.
know how other agencies are, but I do know in general terms, some agencies may not have the funds, so they can't do consistent training, you
Okay.
know, and
Hmm.
that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. You
Hmm.
know, they may not have the financial stability to do um, the above like the above average, I guess, of
Hmm.
training. Not so like not even just the minimum, but like just like just so you have constant training in like your quarterlies throughout the year. They may not have the funds to do it. Whereas like one agency who does have the financial funds to do all that, they can provide and do that. And
Hmm.
that agency is getting more training versus this one.
Hmm.
Um,
And then
I
that probably
think,
reflects on the department, right? So like performance wise, whatever performance would be considered in a department, the departments
yeah,
with
I'm,
training are gonna be either I don't know, have a better rate at whatever compared to the ones that don't.
yeah, I mean, like, probably the best way to put it is like think of like a franchise McDonald's, you know, like they
Hmm.
probably make their stats at this place are so much better than the stats at this place. But you gotta
Hmm.
think about where that place is.
Yeah.
Then you gotta start thinking about like, you know, what's around it, what's not
Hmm.
around it, which is why they're not getting enough attraction. It's why their numbers
Hmm.
are low. It's like the same thing in police
Hmm.
departments. Where you work is can contradict what like I guess their stats are.
Hmm.
It,
What do you think could be better with the training that you have now in your agency?
what would be better with the training in my agency?
Yeah, like what do you think could be improved?
Uh,
Like for example, like I remember hearing I don't know where I heard this from, but it was like every cop should have a brown belt in jujitsu so that they could be able to
yeah.
take people down better or whatever it may be rather than having to use some sort of
Oh
force,
man.
stuff like that.
I have no idea actually. In my agency, like we do have fitness training. We have like
Hmm.
an annual fitness test.
Okay.
Yeah, man, that's a good one actually. Oh, you threw me off there. I don't know. I don't know. Like I don't want to like, I'm not trying to like praise the department, but I mean, I do come from an area where the public is, they do like us. We do get good funding. My town itself makes a lot of money. I come from a department where it's like the population's like 75 or so
Yeah.
thousand, like
Yep.
70, 75, 80, 85,000. But like it doubles in everyday activity. Like legit, like the village told us before, like our population doubles throughout the day because of like all the businesses, attractions, and
Hmm.
like landmarks in our town that they're making money.
Hmm.
And that money from the village does like obviously like support us too. They'll provide money for us too, like um, we are getting a new department. We have like a department building that's a little old. We'll get a
Hmm.
newer one. We get funded for new squad cars when our current squad cars are getting too old or they're like hundreds and thousands of miles out.
Hmm.
Um, Another thing and now that I think about it is like my department does provide some of the equipment you would need as an officer. Whereas like some might have to pay out of pocket. I know some agencies where you got to buy your own gun.
Wow.
They don't give you a duty
Hmm.
issued weapon because they can't afford it,
Hmm.
you know. Um, but just going back to your question off the top of my head right now, I honestly don't have an answer. I don't know. I'm kind of
Hmm.
thankful and fortunate to be out here. We do get above the average training. Um, I don't think you would need it's mandatory to have a brown belt, believe it or not. Don't get me wrong, I got some guys on my department. They do jujitsu.
Hmm.
Um, there are
I know a
some
brown
guys who are
belt's
just
pretty high
elite
though.
heads. Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Would it be nice to know all that, but I don't think it would need to be mandatory. No,
Hmm.
no.
Okay.
Um, I think as long as you can hold yourself accountable, and that's just going with everything, like, especially like fitness. Like me and you, we're meatheads. That's fine. We love fitness. It's a lifestyle
Hmm.
for us both. But like just talking about all this, like even just the brown belt and all, like I think officers do need to stay healthy physically wise. There's some officers
Hmm.
out there who are not in shape, and it'll show, and then it's like it's almost. And I'm not trying to bash my guys in blue, but like it's kind of embarrassing, to be
Hmm.
honest. Some of these guys like or girls who get these jobs, like they probably shouldn't be officers. And again, I'm not trying to bash anybody who is an officer. It's you gotta like a foot chase can be on the fly. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like I can make a traffic stop, someone jumps out and take off on foot. There's probably some people who won't be able to go after them.
Yeah. Hmm.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. But like some people, in my opinion, in this job, it's all customer service. Like some people don't know how to talk to people, like
Hmm.
converse like we are right now.
Hmm.
Um, I've seen videos of officers all the time who are like they don't know how to ask certain questions. They don't know the questions they need to ask to figure out what's going on. They drift mid conversation about what they're trying to get out of the person,
Hmm.
whether it's a victim, the complainant, your caller, whatever. Like, um, I think it's also has to do with society. You know, Everyone likes to text and DM people now. They don't know how to really talk, or people
Hmm.
who just like never had a job that required them to talk. Like I used to work at a Whole Foods. I was a barista at one
Hmm.
point. I was a personal trainer at one point in my life. These are all jobs and it kind of helped me in a way, how to talk to people.
Hmm.
Like I know you can read someone, like I said earlier, body language wise, that like they're going to talk to you, they're not going to talk to you. You might
Hmm.
have to peel a couple layers out of them to get them to talk. Hell, you might even have to ask them something oh man, you play ball or something? I just noticed a football behind you. Like try to
Hmm.
bring them down to a level where they're willing to talk to you.
Hmm.
Going to a call or making a traffic stop and engaging with that person, um, it just doesn't exist for some officers. Like for me personally, I try to keep a level like like I'll make a traffic stop and I'll go to that window, I'll talk to the driver and I'll at least introduce myself. And then I'll just see where it goes, how they answer
Mhm.
me, how they respond to me, whether they're willing to talk to me. Um, I'll try to match that level, you know. I'll I'll walk up, introduce myself, and dude, the reason why I stopped you, bro, like it's a
Mhm.
guy who probably looks close to my age, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, he looks like he's probably a fitness guy too or something. He's got a gym bag in his back seat. Hey man, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. Like that bro alone will throw someone off.
Yeah,
I'm not
definitely.
try I'm trying to have a conversation, and I'm not that I'm a chatterbox. I know how to talk at least, and
Mhm.
not be so stern. So I'll, bro, you didn't have your seatbelt on. That. It's the only reason why I stopped you.
Mhm.
That alone, like trying to talk to somebody, will like it'll throw them off. You can see the reaction. They're like, oh, this dude's cool. Um, and now they're willing to talk to you. Like now you're having a conversation. Now you got your life insurance. Yeah, dude, here you go. Boom. You got what you needed as an officer. Like that doesn't exist for some people, and
Mhm.
that it goes back to like the whole what I think is like this right here. You know, people love the DM, people love the text. No one loves to talk, and it's I think you do need to talk in this field. You know, customer
Mhm.
service. It's
Mhm.
it's number one in my opinion. Customer service is number one in this job.
Yeah, I feel like
I
maybe
think any
maybe that could be the one thing that you can improve about the department is
yeah.
they teach people how to
I now,
talk.
now that I'm kind of going off on it, you kind of got me going. I'm like sitting here thinking, I'm like, you know what? We should take, but I mean, don't get me wrong. We do a lot of scenario training. Um,
Mhm.
I hate scenario training. Because you're being watched. Don't get me wrong. You're always being watched. Your body cam. You're always being watched. But like when you're getting like tested on your watch, like you're
Mhm.
doing a scenario and like all the bosses are on the side watching you. Like yeah, it kind of sucks. It's a little different than like if you went on that scenario is real and it's just you and them and like your partner. But
Mhm.
that kind of teaches kind of get an idea how to talk to people. But like everyday conversation, like what we're doing right now, that is probably something my department or maybe all departments should have. Yeah,
Mhm.
you kind of got me fired up. I like it. I'm not gonna lie.
That's
Yeah,
good. I'm glad. I'm glad.
yeah,
That actually
yeah.
made me think though. Like when you go, let's just go back a little bit to when you first got out of the academy. Did you have to
Uh-huh.
like shadow someone, and they had to,
Oh
or
yeah,
did they have to shadow you? And you like when you did a traffic stop, they had to watch you do it and see how
yeah.
they kind of interacted with
So
people.
yes, 100%. That is like the field training stuff. It's like FTO, your field training officer. Um, my department, it's a four-step process. And it's when I, at least when I was hired, it was kind of different again. Agencies probably do it different, but from my department, you start with, you get four officers. It's four steps. Basically each step, it is easy to progressively challenge to where you're on your own. So step one, you are the PPO, probationary police officer. You're with your FTO, field training officer. He's going to do 75% of the work. You're probably going to do about 25% of the work. That's
Okay.
basically saying he's going to do everything. You're kind of going to shadow a little bit on him and
Hmm.
learn how to do everything. You're going to learn how to do everything as an officer. You're going to learn how to do everything as in regards to safety, procedures, your department policies and procedures, um, everything.
Hmm.
How to police report writing, all that stuff. And then if you're doing good and whatnot, they'll progress you to the step two. Step two, it's about 50-50. Now you're doing a little bit more work. You're doing a little bit more communication with people. You're making traffic stops, and the officer's kind of like there with you helping.
Hmm.
And then step three, now you're about 75, and that step three training officer is about 25. You're doing most of the work on that stuff, whether it's your call, your traffic stop, stuff in the building, anything. Your work is, and he's kind of making sure basically you're doing it right. You know
So
what
it's
I
just
mean?
like in that
Um,
situation when it gets to like the 75 to 25, are you
mhm.
okay? Let's say you're in your squad car. Are you driving or is he driving?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, um, I can't, it's been a while now. I think about it for myself in my field training, but when I started step one, my training officer was doing most of the driving, and then I started driving at one point. Um, Probably because he thought I was ready to start driving. So by the time I got to step two and it's 50-50, I was driving. I was
Okay.
hitting the lights for the traffic stop. You know what I mean? I was walking up to the driver door. Same thing, step three, just a little bit more work. And then like step four is what they call shadow phase. Basically, your training officer, he's like there, he's sitting there,
Mhm.
but you got to have a mindset that he's not there.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Does that make
Mhm.
sense? Like you're doing like 90% of the work. He's just there to make sure you're good,
Mhm.
that you're ready to be solo, you're ready to be on your own. Because in like my department, what I mean by that is we ride one man squad cars.
Okay.
I work for a town that is not as big that would require two officers per squad car.
Mhm. Okay.
Like an example
Mhm.
you might see is like Chicago. Chicago rides two man, obviously. You see them
Mhm.
all the time. There's always two people in a car. I don't work in a town that's that big. I get my own squad car for that day.
Okay.
So um, they'll teach you things to basic and shadow step to basically make sure you're ready when you are solo and you're cut loose, that you're good.
Mhm.
He halftime they're like in street clothes, or more than halftime they're in street clothes. They're wearing street clothes with their vests, like
Okay.
undercover, like as you would for someone like you to understand, like a civilian was. It's basically like an undercover. They're wearing like regular jeans, t-shirt, and they got their vest, and they're hanging
Okay.
on the passenger seat. You're wearing your full patrol uniform. You're in the driver's seat. This is your shift. We're doing what you do. Let's
Mhm.
see how you look. And it's like usually like 2 weeks in my department, and
Mhm.
then like if everything checks out, you're on a training program. Now
Mhm.
one of your probation starts. You're riding solo. They're gonna put you
Mhm.
somewhere on the board for patrol. As far as like what beat you're patrolling, what shift, if it's, noons, midnights, whatnot. Um, and yeah, you just cut loose from there. That
Mhm.
FTO program is it's a little different for every department too. Like I said, mine was a 4-step process. It was maybe 3 to 4 months, if I'm not mistaken. Um, whereas someone, it could probably be like a 6-month process. It might be
Okay.
like 5-step. It's just different. Every agency chooses to do things the way they want to, but within the legal system of it all in the state of Illinois. Um, it's just the process they have. I think sometimes we don't get enough training, but with that being said, some officers will get extended.
Okay.
It's not a bad thing. Everyone thinks extended is a bad thing. Like, I'm not gonna make it out. Like, fine. It
Mhm.
just means you're not at the pace that we want you to be. You just need some more time. I think
How,
some agencies don't get that luxury.
mhm.
You
Is
know what I
your
mean?
is your FTO the same the entire time throughout that 4-step process?
For my department, no. Basically,
Okay.
it's like you get a step one FTO. They are usually your shadow step. So like, um, you're a step one training officer, and then your guy's good. He comes with me, and I'm the step two,
Okay.
and then I'll
Okay.
send him. I'll send him to step three. But when he's ready with shadow, he's gonna go back to you, and you're gonna be, plain clothes,
Mhm.
and he's driving, and he's taking the shift. But you're trying to see if he's good. He's trying to see if he's learned everything he's supposed to learn, know everything he's supposed to
Okay.
know, since he was with you step one.
Now,
That's that's how.
are the ways that the FTOs train, are they different? Could like one FTO
Um.
train differently than another person?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
It's not a bad thing. It's just
Okay.
common. Every officer handles calls and traffic stops
Mhm.
different. Like an example is like maybe you need to get some info. Um, the way I get the person's like name, date of birth, address, phone number, like this is just like trying to put it in simple terms. Like I may ask someone like, all right, what's your name? All right, what's your date of birth? All right, if you had your license, where would you live? Okay. And what's your phone number? Whereas like someone like you're like, okay, what's your name? All right, where do you live? Can I get your phone number? All right, and
Okay.
how old are you again? It's just, it's not bad. It's just
Mhm.
the level, how you like to, get your flow, your spiel, And
Mhm.
so these new guys, what I like to tell them, because they're always asking for advice. I'm not an FTO, so like they're always asking someone who's not an FTO for advice. Um, Learn what your FTO teaches you. Do what they want you to do,
Mhm.
because it's the way they want you to do it, right? That's fine. It's cool. It's copacetic. There's nothing wrong with that. The other training officer might have a different way of doing it. You're going to do it their way when you get to that training officer.
Mhm.
So by the time you get out of the training program, you've dealt with like maybe 3 or 4 training officers. You might like the way this one does this. You might like this way. You might like this. Now you're blending it all in, and you're your own officer.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah, I'm just
yeah,
thinking of it as
no,
like as those guys are like your mentors. So depending on who your
Hmm.
mentor is, it may define you or break you as that police officer that you could or could not be.
I think so.
Okay.
I think if you have good FTOs, as they say, you can be a good officer. You don't want someone who is lazy, obviously. But again, that comes down to like the department. They're the ones
Hmm.
who are making these guys training officers. I think
Yeah.
if your department's good, they'll know that they're gonna want certain people to be
Gotcha.
training officers to make better officers.
Hmm.
It kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. You get what you give. Like,
Hmm.
this guy's giving you all this
Yeah.
info, teaching you all these things. It's gonna make you that way.
Hmm.
So, don't get me wrong.
So,
There are some officers who might duck and dodge calls.
mhm.
Um, they're stuck on paperwork, but that's like anything, man. Any other
Hmm.
job. There's always it's nothing that out of disrespect. Not at all. Just
Hmm.
it is what it is.
So do you think you learned, I mean, obviously I would assume you did, but do you think you learned so much more when you finally got to go on your own and had to solve all the problems on your own compared to like when you were being watched by somebody else?
Dude, 100%. I mean, again, these guys are teaching you to be a good officer, how to do things, but like when you're on your own and you got to figure some stuff out, you may call one of them on the street like, "Hey man, I don't know if you heard me, I'm on this traffic stop or not on the traffic stop, I'm on this call right now. Um, just I'm gonna do this. That's the right way to do it, right?" And like, don't, yeah, man, just make sure you get this paperwork, make sure you sign this, make sure you do that. Um, but you gotta learn. You gotta learn, like, and you are gonna learn. There's gonna be times where you might, fuck up, but like,
Hmm.
it's okay. It's natural because now you're learning how to do it. You like, for example, like I never learned how to get a warrant for
Okay.
someone.
Hmm.
Like a warrant, arrest warrant. I learned. I went and asked people how to do it, and then I went to the courthouse and I had to do it on my own. Like, no one was holding me, no one was holding my hand, no one was holding me accountable. I didn't have a training officer. It was something I learned I got to do early in my career, but I had to do it alone. Like
Hmm.
things like that. You're gonna do that on your own a lot in this department, in any department. Um, it's okay. Don't be scared. Don't be nervous. Everyone's got to go through stuff like at one point, so it's a
Hmm.
learning experience. And then even like things like paperwork, it's okay to mess that stuff up. Um, I don't. I just a lot of people fail to understand like just because it's okay to mess it up doesn't mean you got it. It's okay to mess it up all the time. I
Hmm.
think a lot of police officers don't get that, or they may not care. Um, in my department, it's like they always tell you it's okay to fuck up something small. Don't fuck up something big. And even when you do that, even when you do make a fuck up, don't make that same mistake twice.
Hmm.
And I always heard it. Like in training, I always heard it. FTO training, I always heard it. I never really understood it till I like fuck something up. Like I don't know, dude. Like an example. I'm trying to think of an example, but like
Yeah, I was gonna ask
I
if you
messed
could.
up.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
let me
ask if you
think here.
could
I'm trying to think.
walk me
Like,
through a situation.
uh, okay, so not that I've done this, but I've known someone who has. They made a traffic stop for whatever the stop was, and then they get the guy's license. The guy's CDL license was suspended, but
Okay.
his driver's license was valid. And he's in a car. He's not a truck driver. He's driving like a Camry, let's just say. Um, he thought the guy was suspended, even though it technically says he's valid. His CDL is suspended. So he handled the procedure of a suspended arrest. He like gave this guy tickets. He gave him a court date. He towed the guy's car, only to realize that after everything was done and he cleared his stop, his license was never suspended to drive a Camry. He was valid. That's a fuck up.
Hmm.
That's an okay fuck up.
Okay,
I
that's a
know, like
small. Is that small or is that like a?
it's like you're gonna get some shit because like um you just towed his car. He's gonna have to pay all these fines, right? But then you find out he's not, like, that he didn't need that stuff because he was valid. It's a fuck up to learn from, to never
Mhm.
make again. Number one. Number two, that like what would probably happen in from any agency. Now he's got to notify a supervisor. He has to get the tow released so he doesn't pay for something that is not the case. You might have to void a ticket, like driving on a suspended license. You now have to get that voided. There's, I don't know, departments are different, but there's probably a procedure process to get it voided. And at the end, you have to apologize to the guy. I mean, at least I would. I would
Yeah,
like, listen, dude,
definitely.
you know what? I need you to come to the station, or I need you to talk to you about some stuff, and hopefully they actually show up to the station and you can, you know, have the respect to apologize to him and realize that there was some confusion between a CDL and a DL. But
Mhm.
that's a small fuck up. A fuck up that should never happen is like the stuff you might see, like say this dude accidentally discharges not that he shot anyone, but like say he like discharged his firearm for whatever reason. That's a
Mhm.
bad fuck up. You can get fired for shit like that. Those are like little things like that, you know, or he was texting and driving, and the officer gets in a car accident in his squad car and he's at fault.
Mhm.
That's a big fuck up. Don't do that.
Okay.
You know, things like that. So
Okay.
there's so many different scenarios. I can run them all to you, but we would literally be here for like 3 days trying to figure it out. But like, not that like I won't get political with it or anything, but like, yes, basically something like that example of a suspended license versus like, you know, accidentally discharging your firearm because you weren't thinking of your officer safety. You know, you were just examining your gun and bam, it went off,
Mhm.
or for whatever reason, or you know, you're texting and driving when you're the officer who is supposed to stop people from doing that, and here you are getting in an accident and you're at fault for it. That's a big fuck up.
Mhm.
Those are examples. So,
Okay. I feel like a
yep.
lot of I mean, especially with having to call that guy and say sorry or whatever for that fuck up, I feel like that has to also do with the community that your PD is in. Um, so I know you said earlier that the community is really good, but how do you feel like the overall current relationship with law enforcement and your community is, and how do you think it could be improved?
I think interaction, and that kind of goes both ways as a citizen and an officer. Um, I think, I mean, well, let me like, would you want to work somewhere that no one likes you? Like,
No.
it's just an honest question. Like,
Hmm.
no, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I think as long as you show like a level of interaction and you know you're with you know the public and you're caring about them, you're willing to help them out when they call you, whether it's a neighbor complaint or their car got stolen. Honestly, believe it or not, some people will call just to talk to you, and then next thing you know, like you're sitting here trying to be empathetic with them and trying to understand where they're coming from for whether you do
Hmm.
understand or not. It's just engagement. You got to be willing to engage with them. But that also goes back to the public side. I don't know. Have you ever heard of like ACAB, like the abbreviation? People
I've not.
post it on social media. People say it. All cops are bad.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
that's like from the public standpoint. Like,
Hmm.
and there's basically bashing all cops. All cops are bad.
Hmm.
All cops are this. All cops are that. You know, when in reality, it's probably they had a better interaction with one
Hmm.
single cop.
Hmm.
You know, um, if I can try to reach out to everybody that deals with cops, I would say understand that maybe that was a bad interaction with a cop. It doesn't mean all cops are bad.
Hmm.
Not every cop is bad. I try not to be a bad cop. I can tell you right now, there's a handful of people who do like that off the top of my head that I work with that would not try to be a bad cop. But it may come out to the because I'm wearing a gun, I am wearing a badge and I have a gun that you just think I'm some asshole cop. It's not the
Hmm.
case. Um, it's just a level of like hearing out and engaging. Um, I try to do my best with my public. Like I kid you not, dude. Actually, not thinking about it. The other day, I was at a drive-through at Potbelly's because I was gonna get some food for my lunch, and there's a restaurant that was like with the building of Potbelly's, the drive-through I'm at. There's a restaurant next door.
Hmm.
It's an outdoor patio, and it's all facing me. And everyone's looking, everyone's waving. There's kids eating, waving, whatnot. Um, I actually parked my car when I finished the drive-through. I grabbed a bunch of like police badge stickers, and I literally walked to the patio and like I counted how many kids there were to give each one at least one police sticker like
Mm-hmm.
badge. Like that's like as little as that is, that engagement will hopefully be something good down the road. Like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the parents love it, the kids absolutely love it. They're like junior police officers with their badge stickers, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to engage. I'm not trying to just just think that I'm here or I'm doing whatever or I'm just eating on the job or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm trying to make sure that you guys understand you guys can come to us. Like just by doing that is what I mean. Like just by going out of my way, parking a car and giving some kids some stickers, that probably made their day 100%, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it probably helped, you know, the adults. Um, he's a good cop. That's cool. Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
man. My kid loves it. Now, whether those are people who had bad engagements before, hopefully they see that that wasn't bad engagement with me, and they
Mm-hmm.
won't have a bad engagement down the road. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, the calls we get at some of these places, believe it or not, they just naturally got a bad taste in their mouth from a cop, and they just throw it on all of us. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and for someone like me who is a cop, it is what it is. I'm at that point. I just do what I got to do my job. But
Mm-hmm.
I'll try to leave. You know, thinking that I helped them out and they thought I was good. They thought I was cool. You know, I've
Mm-hmm.
actually gotten that comment a couple times on whether it was a traffic stop or a call. They're like, "Man, you're like most cops, man. You're pretty cool. You're pretty chill." Or like, he'll be on the phone, like, you know, calling
Mm-hmm.
his person, like, dude, they're going to tow my car, but this officer's really cool. He said as long as we do this, this, and that, we can pick it up today. I think that's like music to my ears because now I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm doing something good while doing what I got to do and what I need to do. And there's a level of engagement and respect between me and that person, you know.
Yeah.
It's just, you got to try, man. If you're in this field, you got to try. You got to try to talk to people. You got to try to keep, leave on a positive note. And there's nothing else to it, really. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's simple as it may be. It's important,
Mm-hmm.
you
It
know.
it just reminds me of like I heard a thing about trying to match someone's energy. Let's say someone comes into my store and they have blank face on them. They don't really want to talk. I could match their energy and just be like, okay, what do you want? Like, get out of my store type of thing. But
Yeah,
instead of matching, influencing the energy in the room or influencing the energy of that traffic stop to make that person change their mind. Because that's in a way the only thing that you can do. There's so many cops out in the
yeah,
world. There's so many
yeah,
people that influence these people's minds, especially with like social media and stuff, that you can only control your interaction with that person. You can try and change them as much as possible by just being yourself and by being the cop that you
hmm
want to be.
hmm
And I think that's just what I feel like everybody should try and do instead of match the energy is influence the energy in the room or whatever situation that
yeah,
you're in.
yeah. I actually like that you said that, influence, because that have you ever been in a traffic stop or have you ever engaged with a cop?
Um,
Not
the
me, but like just in general, like
the last
whether you're in
time
trouble or not.
the
When you're in
last time
trouble.
I got pulled over was probably like 4 years ago, and I was
Okay,
just going a little too fast, but nothing like
okay.
there wasn't bad at all. I've never had like a bad outlook on cops. It was pretty simple. It was
What?
I
No,
accept
no, no,
when I
that's
do wrong
fine.
and stuff. Yeah.
No, 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 that's fine. One reason why I asked was like, was that cop like, did he seem robotic? Maybe.
This is funny. So it was a lady. I got pulled over,
Okay.
and I pulled over and I was trying to find whatever I needed just so I could be ready for her to come up or whatever. And I didn't know who it was at the time. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. And I rolled my window down and I'm sitting there waiting for her to come up. And I turn to my left and she's just standing there. Like I didn't notice her at all. She just appeared out of nowhere. I was like, oh God. Like I just like jumped.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I scared you." And I was like, "Why are you sorry? I just did something wrong, and you're apologizing for scaring me standing outside of my car."
yeah.
And
That that's dope.
it was natural. Like it was there's nothing wrong with
Yeah,
the situation at all. She said, "Hey, this is what you did," and I think honestly because it was so natural, like she just gave me a warning, and I was able to go, and
yeah.
nothing ended up happening.
So that's a good interaction.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean earlier is that like some officers will go up to a traffic stop, for example, like
Mm-hmm.
you, and they'll be like, you know, I'm Officer Lugo of the whatever department, and do you know why I pulled you over? And you're sitting there in the driver's seat, like, actually, I don't know why you pulled me over, but like, you know what I mean? But you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to say that either, obviously. But like,
Mm-hmm.
they're just coming off like they read
Yeah, I
a
now
fucking script.
Now
You
that
know what I
I
mean? Like,
now that I think about it, I wouldn't say it was robotic, but I would say there was this one situation I was with. This was in high school. I was probably 17. I wasn't
mm-hmm,
driving. I was in the passenger seat. My friend was driving, and we had a friend in the back seat. And
mm-hmm,
they came up. Whatever. We were in a different town at the time. We were not too far, but in a different town. They came up to us, and they were automatically assuming that we were doing something bad.
yeah,
Automatically thought we were I don't know. We were kids. They just thought we were doing
yeah,
something wrong, and they came pretty hostile to us for no reason. And it like I was just sitting and I was like, okay, this is like my first traffic stop. I'm not even driving. I'm sitting there. I'm just gonna put my hands in my lap and just look forward. And the
yeah,
dude, there's two cops. One came to the driver's seat. The other one came to the passenger seat, and he was like
uh,
shining a light in my eyes, asking me like, "What's wrong with you? Is there something wrong? Like, are you nervous right now?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm a 17-year-old kid. We just got pulled over for whatever reason, and you're asking
it's
me
your
these
first time
questions."
pulled over. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Every reason to be nervous. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he was just
Um,
that guy. I felt like was I don't remember. Obviously, I don't remember who it is, but I feel like that interaction was really inhumane because it
mhm,
was like automatically right off the bat, you just assume that some kids in high school
right,
are just doing something wrong.
right. Yeah. So like I try. That's what I try to avoid. Like me personally, I try to keep a neutral ground when I start the interaction.
Mm-hmm.
How you react, how you're acting, what you're doing. When I ask you certain questions, how your behavioral difference, your response, your tone, though that's when like you keep it neutral, and now you're either gonna be really cool with this guy because he's being cool with you, or am I gonna have to be a stern like cop? And like a lot of cops do know when to be a cop and when to be a person because at the end of the day, he or she's a person, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them just don't, you know, and that kind of leaves back to like, oh, all cops are just assholes, you know, and it's not the case. It's just engagement, like I was saying earlier. Like I can make a traffic stop. I'll walk up there and I'm always like, hi, you know, I'm also the reason why, you know, I stopped you, was, you know, you were on your phone. And then I keep it with a nice neutral tone, passive voice, respectful. Whatever they're gonna give me is probably what they're gonna get back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, fuck, man, get the fuck out of my face. I'm like, all right, dude, where's your license insurance?
Mm-hmm.
You know, or you know, oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I was just trying to get the GPS out, and then I'm responding like, oh, it is what it is. I understand. You know, do you got your license insurance with you? Like, it's just it just blows my mind. Like it you got to engage in the right way, but you got to
Mm-hmm.
know when to be a cop, when not to be,
Mm-hmm.
type of situations. And with that, it's just like don't try to be. I tell the new guys don't try to sound like you're reading a script. Just don't.
Mm-hmm.
Just engaging with it. Just talk to them like you would. Talk to them like you would. Like that whole. Are there any narcotics in your vehicle today, sir? Like whether I'm an officer and I could smell the weed in the car, I'm not gonna ask that, or
Mm-hmm.
at least not like that. You know what I mean? Like, listen, dude, like your car is pretty loud. Like, when's the last time you smoked, or how much is left in the car?
Mm-hmm.
That versus like any. Do you have any weed in your vehicle today, sir? Like, dude, they will easily say no. They will easily tell you no, whether it's there or not, whether you smell or not. Where someone like I had one like 3 days ago. Like, I could smell it on the road behind them, and then I get up there and I smell. I'm like, listen, dude, like, are you smoking? Like, when's the last time you smoked in this car, dude? Just be honest with me. Listen, man, I smoked like 2 days ago. I know it smells. All right, like, how much you got left in the car? I got like an eighth, bro. All right, cool. Next thing you know, I'm searching the car. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I did my job that I'm supposed to do
Mm-hmm.
while, you know, this guy's being cool. Like, same stop. Like, I did all that, searched the car, found it. I'm like, listen, dude, all right, I'm gonna have to give you an ordinance ticket. Listen, it's an ordinance ticket. It's like an expensive parking ticket. That's the best way I put it for people to understand. It's not gonna go on your license. It's not gonna be your record, but you pay it and it's gone. Dude, they love that. They love like, man, you cool as hell, bro. I appreciate it. I ain't trying to go to court, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pay it. whether they pay it or not, that's through the village I work for. But like, dude, they love that. They
Hmm.
love the engagement. They love that, and like you can get so much more, so much further with that. And officers don't see that. They just want to do what they think they see on TV in the movies. The stuff, half the stuff you see on TV in the movies is like not real either. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like you ever watch like Bad Boys?
Hmm.
Not like some of that's there, but like more than half of it isn't. Like that, like Will Smith's character is like they're Miami PD, but he does undercover in Mexico with the cartel. Like that's not a thing, dude. Like that's not from Miami. You know what I mean? Like the shootout, like I can go into detail like how they like the officer safety was like obviously not in play in the scene because like his partner's next to him and he's like waving a gun around trying to shoot people and
Hmm.
clear a house and I'm like, okay, well, where was this at? Where was that at? Did they even get this approved? Did they like at least acknowledge themselves before
They must ruin
entering?
movies, dude.
What was their purposes? Oh, dude, 100%. Like I'm there for the laughs, but dude, like, man, like, you think too much like a cop sometimes. It's just like that's not real. I would never do that. No department would do this. Like it's
Hmm.
crazy. It's crazy,
Hmm.
especially like the more they try to do like the explosions and stuff, like the Bad Boys 3 that came out like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, like that one killed me. Like, dude was undercover for like a cartel boss lady, and he ended up like getting her pregnant. I'm like, for Miami PD, you're not even federal. Like, that's not even a government thing. Like, that's a city. Like, or like he gets shot. Like, come on, bro. Like,
Hmm.
where was all the other officers in the area if that was the case? You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
why is it taking so long for this? Why is it taking so long for that? Like, I know it's Miami. We're in Illinois, but like, dude, there's just so much to it. Like, it's just like you can't help but laugh and roll your eyes.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
That's funny. So, how do you think your perspective on society and like human behavior has changed since you've been a cop?
the change with in general or with the interaction officers. What do you mean?
Just like your overall interaction with society, like how is your perspective possibly has changed? Like what you initially thought society was going to be like when you went in to become an officer, and then after being an officer for 5 years, like how has it changed since the beginning?
I think it's still kind of the mentality I had. When I was getting hired, I kind of knew that not everybody likes cops, and some people do love cops. Um, I also had that mentality where it's just like I come from a lifestyle of structure, organized, like rules and all that stuff, like being a student athlete and whatnot. So it's just like I kind of like that structure after all those years after college, going back
Hmm.
into a job that has it. Um, but when I made the moment, like from before I started hitting the street for field training, um, I would just always assume that everyone hate like that half society hates cops, half society actually loves cops. I think that's still kind of around. Not much has changed from it, in my opinion,
Hmm.
personally. I think that at the end of the day, there's still people who just hate cops in general.
Hmm.
Um, and there's some people who just loves their cops in their town. You
Hmm.
know, I don't think there's off the top of my head anything major that has changed with it. Um,
Okay.
maybe just the frequency of going back to engagement with the public. That you would maybe think that like if I like working in my town, I'm gonna think that okay, it's probably 50-50. Whereas like there might be a town where like everyone hated cops, but like they got a new chief and there's more training and these officers are now transitioning and now they're starting to like cops.
Hmm.
Um, we do. I think at the end of the day, though, in my town, we do get a lot of love. We do get a lot of respect. Um, we also are a town though where a lot of people like to come to it because of all like
Hmm.
the stuff we have for shopping and
Hmm.
entertainment and whatnot. So like my interaction, now I think about it, usually it's people not even from here half the time. It's
Okay.
from somewhere else, or someone from close to the city by Chicago and all that. Like, I think, wow, yeah, the more I think about it, yeah. So I think that, the, I think that's where it actually comes from. I think about it. those who are like non-residents of my town, they probably had a bad taste in their mouth with an officer and they just think all cops are
Hmm.
bad. They'll come. There's been times where, for whatever reason, I'm with them on a call or a traffic stop or whatnot. They even tell me, they're like, "Hey, you're not like the cops by me, man. The cops by me are all assholes." Like, da da da. Um, Whereas like someone who is a resident, they just already know that we're doing our best, what we got to do, and they
Hmm.
do like us in general. Um,
Okay.
maybe that's a factor.
Hmm.
But from my perspective, and like a general to your question is, I
Hmm.
think it really hasn't changed much.
Okay.
And not in my head, not in my head at all.
Okay. So do you think the people that kind of lean towards the all cops are bad mindset, do you think there's some misconceptions that they might believe about police officers in general that maybe
Um,
if they understood how things worked a little bit more, it would just be the connection that would make her like how they interacted with people would be better.
yeah, I think as long as they had a good interaction, um, initially, like whatever their first interaction was to make them think that all cops are bad,
Okay.
if whatever that interaction was, if it was ran different, I don't think then, they would have that mindset or like that mindset to spread it to anyone else. Because
Hmm.
sometimes I just feel like, and I don't know, I don't have an answer for that, like if it's truth or not. But sometimes I feel like maybe someone who had a bad interaction with an officer, they just tell people that all cops are bad, and like now those group of subjects are all thinking with the person who only had one interaction,
Yeah.
like if there's like five people and like one of them had an interaction with a cop and they were all bad, and he tells the other four that they're all cops are just bad, now all four believe him. Like
Hmm.
I don't know, I would hope not, but I
Hmm.
mean it would just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
There
could
was
ramble it. I have no idea, man. It's that's a tough question. I just
yeah.
think that it comes down to interaction.
I heard this term. I forgot what it was, but it was pretty much if you go around believing let's just for say like for example all cops are bad and then you continue to spread it all cops are bad and all cops are bad without having more than one interaction with someone, then of course that's exactly what you're going to believe. And
Yeah.
especially with social media, you spread that, then all the people that also have that one bad interaction are going to hone in on this conversation that is
Hmm.
confirming their bias towards cops. And
Yeah.
um, would you say that that's probably one of the most challenging parts of the job that most people wouldn't expect, or what would you say?
Um, I think so. Maybe it would be tough. Just because, with the mindset of thinking that all cops are bad, you're like, for me, then if that was the case, I'm gonna go and do what I got to do on a call or a traffic stop, and I'm gonna make sure I do what I got to do as an officer as far as my job goes. But you had a good interaction to know that not all cops are bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I do. I actually, truthfully, I do try to do that in general, no matter what. Um, and it kind of goes back to what I said earlier when like some of the engagement I have with people, their reactions just like, dude, you're not like all these other cops that we deal with. Like those cops are assholes over there. In my mind, I'm like, well, that's good to hear. I know I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
something right, or at least I'm trying to do something right. And at the end of the day, when we part our ways, you know that not all cops are like that.
Yeah,
For
you
whatever
influence them.
reason that town, yeah, exactly. But like for whatever that town is, for you to say that all those cops are assholes, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't work there. I don't know those people that are working there for you to say that. But knowing that you engaging with me, it's not the case. It's not the
Mm-hmm.
case.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So
Um, so you talked to me the other day about how you had a very long traffic stop. You said it was like 6 hours long.
yes.
Would you be able to walk me through what exactly happened there,
Well, it
if
was
it's
actually
possible?
it was a it. I see. Let me think about it. But the only reason, well, first of all, it was like it was a traffic stop to start.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, person was arrested. It was just the procedure we got to do as far as the charges and whatnot. That's why it was longer. So,
Okay.
I can't get into detail all that, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a process to certain things, especially like if, for example, someone does get arrested, let alone on a traffic stop, how many people are in the car? Okay, not the person that's arrested, but like, what are you going to do with the other people? Like, as far as like were they involved with that specific thing? There's a whole process. The car, if it's getting towed or not, and then like going to the police station for processing, um, approving, getting certain charges approved. Like there's a whole. I can't get all that. The only reason why it was long though was because that process we have to do was only held up because of literally because of paperwork. Believe it or not.
Okay.
Um, Technology and equipment is not always either up to date or always working, and that can take a turn of things at work. Um, so yes, I started with a traffic stop. It went longer than it should have because of the um, procedure, let's say, including the paperwork. Electronically and with internet, it went down, so that it went longer. And we had to go old school
Okay. Okay.
and finish our process. That is why I got held longer than it should have.
Okay.
Now, going to that, I think there's probably some agencies who don't have the technology and equipment, and that's the reason why things go longer than they should. Kind of rambling here with that being said, there's probably agencies where they have a lot of pending calls because they're handling current calls.
Mm-hmm.
They may not have the equipment, technology, or the manpower on the street to do or handle all the calls and keep the other pending calls low. My department, I'm fortunate enough, we do have a good amount of officers. We do have some good technology and equipment where we don't always have calls pending. Plus, we just have like a good administration where like they don't like pending calls. Let's get
Okay.
everything done.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Customer satisfaction. So, yeah, I can't get details about that one. I already know. I like when you said 6 hours. I was like, I already know what call that was, man. That was a back burner. It took like that call. I think I got like maybe held over from the end of my shift time, like by an hour or so, hour or two. So I got like hour or two of like overtime alone.
Okay. Do you
Yeah.
look forward? Okay, obviously you don't look forward to pressing charges on people and having to go through all the paperwork and stuff. But like, do you prefer having those longer calls so you don't have to go and do other things, or would you prefer to just be it done and over, and then you can just move on to the next one, and then move on to the next one?
I like moving on to the next one.
Okay.
I don't like to get held over as too much on one certain thing. Especially like the long shift days, like where I'm working, 10, 12 hours. I think that if like I always like being hands-on or doing things. So like for me specifically or someone like me, time flies better and faster
Yep.
when you're not looking at the clock. So you're always trying to keep busy. So I'm making traffic stops and hopping on as many calls that come out as possible. So that before you know it, it's like, damn, it's 6 p.m. I only got like 2 more hours, Okay, 1 more hour. Might as well, finish this and then probably head home.
Mm-hmm.
So plus it's I can be a homebody person at that, and me loving my family and my girlfriend's family and all. It's the shift will go by faster, and then like which means it's closer for me till I get to go see my girlfriend or
Mm-hmm.
go see my family or go see my nieces and my nephew.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps. It helps. I hate looking at the clock, man. I really do. I'm one of those.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you because, like, dude, I swear I'm at work sometimes and I look at the clock and then, okay, it's 10 o'clock and I feel like an hour goes by and I look back and it's 10:15 and I'm like, oh my
Yes. Yeah.
God.
So,
Like, it's
dude.
slow. It's not busy at all. And I'm like, I feel like I've been here. I have an 8 hour shift, but I feel like I've been here all day, literally all day, all night. And it's
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy that how much, I don't know, action and just doing something makes a difference on time.
For sure.
So what are the different types of calls? Because obviously there's like very simple, easy calls, but you said hot calls. Are those like in terms of high priority? So like if you get a
Yes.
hot
Like
call, you're like, I'm just gonna drop this one call maybe and just automatically go to the hot call.
yeah. So like say you got like a neighbor complaint type of call. Something that's like, there's someone keeps ding dong ditching me or something like that. The person who called 911 doesn't even want to see or speak to an officer. They just want you to check the area. That's
Okay.
like, something simple as that. Whereas like while you're en route to that, Now there's like a shots fired call, and you're getting multiple callers saying that there's someone that they heard gunshots somewhere, and now you got to figure out what's going on. You could easily dump that call because the priority is not that important, let alone your complainant doesn't even want to see you. They just want you to check the area, and you're going to go handle that hot call. That's a hot call. That's like an example. Like there's like just calls and then there's hot calls. That's how I look at them. Something that is of significant importance that needs to get handled now. Like another good one probably is like, say there was like a major traffic accident and some car got T-boned. Both the cars are now in the middle intersection. You're probably at the intersection, and as you're sitting at the light, you see airbags deployed. It's in the middle, so like every car is going to be jammed up if they don't like get these cars going. And I'm still on the way to that nuisance like neighbor complaint. That's a call. That's a hot call. You got to get over there. You got to get on the scene. Make sure everyone's, whether they're hurt or not. If you're going to need paramedics, traffic control, because those cars are in the intersection. Start calling for tows. Clear that intersection as much as possible. Those are hot calls. And then like, now I think about it too, as far as like with like the new guys, they just get fired up for stuff like that, you know. But it's just like, you gotta understand like priority of it all. So those calls, like, and my town it's a decent sized town. We get decent calls, we get decent hot calls. Like, we may not get those enough, you know. But
do you remember your first hot call?
You gotta be ready. My first hot call? Oof. What was my first hot call? I think my first hot call was probably, I think it was an accident, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was a 3-car collision. A car I can't remember why, but the car ended up running through a red light and it T-boned one car, and the other car, the car that got T-boned hit the car left of them. 2 cars got airbags deployed. It was probably one of the busiest intersections in our town, and we had just started the shift. Like, I had just loaded up my squad car.
Okay.
So it was like, we're going to this. We're going to. And like, I was like step 1 of my FTO. That was like my first hot call. Okay. So like, I wasn't even doing anything, but I was like, this like, my heart was racing. We were going to go trying to get to the intersection because it's on the other side of town, and like, we're essentially like, cars are pulling over for us so we can go like fucking 80 miles down the street. Like, dude, it was crazy. And I'm just like in the passenger seat, like, oh shit, this is real. Like, I love it, you know. Like, I as adrenaline junkie as I am, like, you know, that was a lot of adrenaline. Yeah, that threw me off. But not that I enjoy doing it at work. I don't enjoy the adrenaline at work, but I don't need that type of stress. But
do you have to be in like a certain vicinity to go, or is it just like anyone that can come?
As far as hot calls,
yeah.
It's no. If they need officer, just get there. Just get there. Okay. Hot call wise, no. If it's like something like regular wise, as long as it's within your area or it's in your patrol area, that's yours. Okay. Otherwise, don't even worry about it. But hot calls, yeah, time to get officers going. We're gonna send officers going. So,
okay.
For sure.
So do you always get a like a different, I guess vicinity or zone scheduled to you, like, or is it always the same? Like, you get this one day, this one another day. Is it always usually the same type of area that you get sent into?
It's just an agency preference.
Okay.
Some people like to rotate their officers. Some agencies make them patrol that area for however long, 6 months, 8 months, a year.
Okay.
Whatever. Some agencies will subdivide them like by seniority. Like, these officers.
Okay.
These officers are probably eligible to pick their own, and they can probably be like what's called cover cars, where like they cover more than just one area, or they cover like the citywide area. For example, there's probably like there's an agency that is like 8 patrol sections of their town, and the officers pick in seniority order, they pick their area, so all 8 are fulfilled. But let's say you have maybe 2 other officers. Those 2 officers would be what's called a cover car, and they'll probably take half of the town. Okay. So officers 1 through 4 are here, officers 1 through 5 are here. That those 2 other officers, one will patrol all for and back up all those guys when they need an officer, and that
Okay.
other officer will do the same for the other beats. So I know I'm kind of throwing a lot of like cop lingo, but it's like I'm trying to think of the best way to put it in terms.
No,
But yeah, like
that's cool.
it's it's uh it's just a preference that I guess the
Okay.
department has. I know that
Okay.
sounds repetitive, this whole conversation, but like literally every agency does things their own way. Um, there's not every agency is the same.
Hmm. That makes
Believe
sense.
it or not.
It's all geared towards the
Yeah,
specific
yeah,
area that you
yeah,
are patrolling
yeah.
around.
And let alone actually, I think about the size too. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
big is that town? You
Mm-hmm.
know, how many officers do they need per shift because they're a big town or they're a small town?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But,
What is some advice that you would give to someone that's looking to follow in your footsteps?
someone following in my footsteps. Customer service we talked about for sure. I think that is extremely important. You got to learn how to talk and engage with the community and your interaction with people who do call 911. Um, officer safety. I'm very big on officer safety. Um, you got to be able to roll with the punches with that. Not literally, but like officer safety on stops, searching abandoned houses, stuff like that. I think you have to be knowledgeable, obviously, because you're dealing with like legal laws. You know, you can't. You gotta understand that like there's no violations of laws and whatnot. So like whether it's that person or you're not disregarding the law. Um, I think you got to be able to handle stress. One thing one of my training officers taught me was stress inoculation. Basically, stress inoculation is like getting think about getting pressured doing something and they're putting the stress on you and you trying to breathe and handle that stress, bring it down, bring your adrenaline down, and proceed to handle whatever you need to handle. Like that,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably the best way he put it for me. Um, yeah, like I've done breathing exercises to help me keep my adrenaline down, especially when I first started on the job and like I was
Mm-hmm.
still learning. Um, I think as my time has progressed out here, 5 years in, I've handled my stress a lot better on calls. But stress inoculation and the stress breathing exercises, it it helps you better prepare, better handle, and better like almost diminish your stress on those like
Mm-hmm.
stressful calls or stressful engagements. Um, you don't want to stress out too much, obviously for your health, but like you don't want to put yourself in stress where like now you start forgetting little things on that call, on that traffic stop. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like you like say you're letting the stress and your adrenaline and you're like your chest is gonna explode and like now you're not even thinking about your officer safety, where you're positioned at, where your car's positioned with theirs, where you're at in that house on that domestic call. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
not thinking about any of that stuff when you should be naturally thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you put that little like, especially as a new guy, you're gonna get that little stress. Your training officer's he's obviously gonna make sure you're good, make sure you're safe, but he's gonna put you on some stress so you know how to handle and do your job with stress. Um, and that being said, don't and like a lot of officers will forget little things like I mentioned, but then you gotta start doing things like stress breathing. Like it was like I don't know if this is or not, but I think it's like a military breathing technique. Like you like take a deep breath in for like 5 seconds, you like hold for 5 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
exhale for five, and just repeat. Um, my training officer taught me that, and when I would almost let the stress get to me, like I'm like my chest is just ready to explode. Like now I'm like rambling my words trying to tell this guy to stop, and like I didn't think about this, I didn't think about that. I would do that even on calls, like on the side while like we're doing stuff. And it would help me bring me down. I'm like, okay, now what do I have to do on this call now? I'm brought back down. What I got to do to like finish my job at this point?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I tell a lot of new guys that, and again, I'm not even a training officer, but like I always try to, make sure that the new guys learn something. Because I also think this is a job where like if you're not learning something new every day, you might not be doing your job right. Because um, you can go to like a domestic related call today, and you can go to one tomorrow. The one tomorrow is going to be probably completely different from the one you did today.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get like, or even neighbor complaints, like you get all these calls, but like and it may sound the same as the same one you had yet today, like come
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow, like they might sound the same, but because like the people engaging with the officer, or, you know, because someone said this versus like it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people like to think that too as officers. They like to think that, oh, like I can handle all these domestic calls. It's pretty easy. It's all the same. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
No, nothing is ever the same. You're gonna learn, and that's why I'm like, if you didn't learn how to do this, or if you didn't learn how to do that today, tomorrow, the day after, or yesterday, like you're obviously not doing your job right.
Mm-hmm.
Every engagement's different. Every call is different. It may sound similar, but it's not. So, and that kind of goes back to the stress, because you may think you know how to handle it because you did it yesterday. It's not going to be the same, and you're going to be stressed out all over again. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy when you say it out loud like that, but it's like it is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's the truth.
And I think
So,
wrapping up, what are some either personal endeavors that you have for yourself related to work and then outside of work as well?
what do you mean by that? Can you give me an example?
Like goals. Like,
Like,
do you have any goals within?
oh yeah, oh yeah. One of my biggest goals is well, the goal I had was just to be good, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I got to the department, it was like, what do I want to do with my career? That's how like it literally changed. I was just like, I want to be a good cop. I want to make sure everyone knows me, put my name out there, everyone, like, they know that I'm good and all this. But then it was like, I want that, but like, what do I want to do in my career at this point? Am I going to be a patrol officer all 20 years, just be a beat patrol cop? Do I want to get into like TAC? What's my niche? Like everything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And me personally, mine was I like dealing with like narcotics and stuff like that, you know.
Okay.
I wanted to get into tech. I wanted to, you know, do all that. I think before that, when I first started, I was like, I want to be a canine officer. I want a dog. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love it, but like that's not me.
Mm-hmm.
I like doing a lot of self-initiated work. I love engaging and interacting. I do, and that's just like obviously with the community, but I'm saying like as far as like drugs and weapons and stuff like that, like the stuff you would see almost similar to what you might see in the movies, but like that is obviously realistic. Um, I do like stuff like the SWAT stuff, things like that. That's probably what I want to do. I think that would be my career path. Um, Maybe someday go federal. I don't know. Maybe a detective one day. I don't know. I just know what I like doing now, and it's as far as like the cop stuff goes, like not the community stuff and all that, but like as far as like policing goes, I like looking for narcotics and stuff like that. I love engaging with like having conversations with someone and like them like not realizing that they just gave me probable cause to search their car and see what's going on, what they
Mm-hmm.
have in there, and then, you know, do what I got to do in the legal aspect of all that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Outside of that, I just want to live life, dude. I know that sounds cliche and a little cheesy, but like like I said earlier, I love to travel. I've been to Tokyo, I've been to Greece, I want to go to London, I've gone to Dubai. I want to go just enjoy what I can, you know, and I do
Mm-hmm.
that with my girlfriend. We've been together almost 8 years. I mean, she's got her own personal goals she wants to get done. We have goals we want to get done together. Um, and just live life together with her. That's all I got. I got nothing else to it. As simple as it may be. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
just want to enjoy it
Mm-hmm.
when I'm outside of work.
Where's
So
your next destination, do you think?
next station, well, technically we both got to go to Colombia, but
Okay.
that's really not for us. But we're gonna make it for us because we're gonna be out there for a week. Um, but it would be nice to check that off the box. Not gonna lie. I do want to go to London, but I think London is like if I'm gonna go to London, I'd probably do like half my trip there and then go to
Yeah.
like Paris. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Whereas
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I've done a whole week in Dubai, or a whole like week or almost two in Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I don't know. I got a whole list of places. I once I got Tokyo out the way, dude, like Tokyo was my favorite. It was like top three of my bucket
I
list.
I want to
I
go
got
there
to
so
do
bad.
it. I highly recommend it. I know you love the anime. It's
Oh yeah.
literally everywhere, dude. Like everything's Naruto, everything's Attack on Titan, everything's still Hello Kitty over there, like, dude, and everything just seems retro. The 7-Eleven there's, I don't know if you've heard about them. They're
Hmm.
insane. The food is amazing, and the dollar value from U.S. to Japan is like nothing. Like a U.S.
Really?
dollar was at the time I went was almost like 160 yen. It's like I was having like $8 Wagyu on a steak.
Wow.
Highly recommend. Highly recommend. And if you do go to Tokyo, just future, bro, try to go everywhere. Like we did. We went to Tokyo, but we did do a day trip to Osaka. We did a day trip to Kyoto, things like that.
Hmm.
And it honestly, I think we were there for maybe like 10 days, 9 nights. It was not enough. We were
Damn.
ready to come home, but like Tokyo is huge, bro, and like
Hmm.
in Japan itself is even bigger. But man, was it a good time. I miss it. I miss it every day.
Hmm. I'm
Yeah.
supposed to go to the Philippines in February, so
Okay.
I don't know if our plan is to go to Japan as well because my dad went to Japan the last time I went to the Philippines. So it
Oh,
might be on our list or might not be, but it's definitely I think it's my number one place to go is Japan for sure.
definitely do it. Enjoy it too. Enjoy it. I want to go to the Philippines too, but like I want to go all over. I do.
Yeah. Hmm.
It's like even like Bali, Thailand,
Hmm.
all that stuff, dude. Like,
Yeah, I made a joke with my friends that for whenever I decide to get married, that my bachelor's party is going to be 2 weeks in Thailand doing Muay Thai.
dude, good. It's funny actually. I think there's a bar that's like hilarious and crazy at the same time, and I think it's in Thailand. It's like the one where like you fight people for beer.
Really?
Yeah, like, and I think it's actually in Thailand, dude. Like,
That's sick.
like two people like just walking in, like if you want a free bucket of beer, you gotta fight one. You guys gotta fight. Like they give you gloves and everything. And there's like a ring inside it. It's like insane. So
That's
that's all
that's
you, man. You
that's
got a
awesome.
couple punches and a can of beers, and just enjoy your bachelors, dude.
Hell yeah. Dude,
Yeah,
Nelson, I appreciate you coming on. It was a blast
yeah, man.
today. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
is there anything that you would like to share with the audience at the end? Maybe we're like to keep up with stuff with you, or just any just last words.
Nah, I just enjoy life, do what you can, enjoy the little things. Someone like me being a cop, it's an underrated blessing to like leave home and be like, I'll see you later. A lot of
Hmm.
cops, unfortunately, don't get to